You like icebergs? Of course you like icebergs. That's why you clicked on this video. It's an iceberg video. Welcome to my first upload of 2023. It's been a whole year. Ah ha 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 ha. You can laugh now. It's so funny, right? This is the 1000 Unsolved Mysteries iceberg. Obviously, there's not actually 1000 unsolved mysteries in however long this video winds up being, because I'm pretty sure it's only going to be like 30 minutes, if that, but it is a little 5-entry chunk. So how I cover it is I do single videos and then I compile them, because some people like to listen to the compiled videos more than the single ones. That's what you're listening to right now. So if you're familiar with the channel, you've already seen all of this, unless you haven't been watching the videos. If you're not familiar with the channel, thanks for joining me here. Welcome to the journey. You can jump in at any point, and if you enjoy this video, you can go and watch the others. Just glad you're here. Now, I have been prattling on too much, so thank you for clicking on this. Thank you for watching. Let's just go ahead and get into it. I'll see you in there.
The 40s were an understandably tough time for Americans. There had been, to put it lightly, some economic struggles. Only a teensy-weensy little skirmish in the Hawaiian Islands, and due to these very small events, Americans on the western seaboard were absolutely terrified at the idea of a Japanese invasion. This fear only intensified as Japan started doing a little trolling with the shelling of Elwood, where submarines pulled up, shot artillery shells, took 30% of fathers, and left. In LA, the scene was an understandably tense one, leading to heavy fortification. Surely, a bunch of overstressed young dudes trusted in a civilian setting with heavy firepower could not go wrong, right? On February 24th, 1942, Naval Intelligence warned the top brass of an incoming attack on California within 10 hours. Tom Cruise did not exist yet to do absurd stunts, stop the bad guy, and be part of an evil cult that harms thousands, so they just hunkered down and fortified LA. You're probably thinking this is the part where the Japanese fly in. Wrong. Instead, nothing happens on the 24th. 2:25 a.m., February 25th, 1942, a mere 2 hours after the 24th, so I can be pretentious and go on about how nothing happened on the 24th. An alarm is raised. Thousands of air wardens spring into action. A total blackout is called over LA County. At 3:16 a.m., the first shots would be fired at an unknown enemy, as vague and hard to track as the father of a teenage pregnancy. Hellfire itself was unleashed. 1,400 shells fired, a barrage to turn anything that ever was into Swiss cheese. After this volley, you'd expect the enemy to be all over the streets of LA. You'd be wrong. Like a blind old man trying to give a facial to the prostitute who silently left 20 minutes ago, the armed forces hit absolutely nothing. So what the hell happened here? Well, further context. The military says all of this was inspired by the sighting of a weather balloon, and for the first time ever, this kind of reply makes sense. The enemy was only vaguely sighted. Most people didn't see anything. The enemy let loose no attacks, and not one enemy was shot down. It was a complete phantom enemy. Now to the two theories of what happened here. Theory 1. A phantom enemy. If we don't down the enemy after 1,400 rounds, they make no attack and hardly any soldiers spot them, something is clearly wrong. Occam's razor dictates that the easiest answer tends to be the right one. And if there is no enemy, maybe there just was no enemy. Paranoia ran amok here, and with soldiers not knowing from where or when or even if the Japanese would make a move, a real-life sword of Damocles, of course they would be jumpy and trigger-happy. This follows the majority of witness reports and logic. Theory 2. Alien invasion. That's right, shove vibrating anal beads up your ass to receive chess moves against Magnus Carlsen, lobotomize yourself to stop the gay agenda, and put the tinfoil condom on to protect your cock from the shadow demons. Theory 2 proposes that aliens attacked LA mid-World War II. Why? Yes. Proof? No. Any logic beyond a dozen people claiming to see lights? No. I don't even understand why ufologists take this seriously. When the US Navy out and says that UFOs are a thing, but like, hey guys, we know as much about them as an incel knows about the clit, you clearly have some basis and respect for what could be out there. You can build a respectable scientific community. But when you circle jerk a downright absurd and clearly not UFO-related incident as an alien attack, well, You just kind of look dumb. Now, of course, this is coming from the guy who, in his studies of many mysteries, online, offline, true crime, not true crime, yet to be, agrees with the absurd explanation if it has potential logic. But this is just a silly goof up by the army. You get a bunch of guys up with guns, you get them up there in the middle of the night, and you keep them up. Eventually, they're going to screw up and see something. And no, newspaper clippings cannot prove that wrong. Aliens attacked LA! Sensationalism and clickbait has been a thing since time immemorial. No, aliens did not attack LA. At least I'm pretty sure they didn't. If you disagree, there's plenty of videos that agree with you out there. This is just mine.
Did you know that these things right here are they move? They Yes, that's right. Rocks are in perpetual motion, and this video is going to be talking about it. So, get cozy. We're getting right into it.
The fact that the land on this rock can't stay still is pretty well known as plate tectonics, started by the continental drift theory that was made by Alfred Wegener in 1912. This was also the same year your great-grandmother would contract syphilis, leading to that one birthmark you have. Continental drift as a theory was made because Wegener here made the same realization that thousands of people throughout history and every bored 9-year-old in social studies classes with an old, slow teacher made. Hey, all these fit together. He theorized that the stuff is on plates and moves. He was laughed at, and then proven correct. He's still going to be laughed at, though, because of me.
Extremely overused setup. Beaten to death punchline. You may laugh now.
In the past of yonder days, the Earth was just a literal ball of hellfire. At some point that ball cooled into the crust, which is a mystery here. When did that really happen? We don't actually know how the plates of the crust formed. Logically, we know that the melty stuff became less melty, and the heat from below makes it move and shit, but now the center of discussion is when this actually began. See, we originally thought it started around 3 billion years ago. We can actually tell this time using a really neat little trick to tell the date of rocks. Microparticles and atoms of iron, being a magnetically conductive metal, aka ferrous, will align itself with the magnetic poles. The magnetic poles, every 10,000 to 50 million years, will be silly little gooses and those flip. So any new iron will align with the new poles. The oldest rocks in iron were about 3 billion years old, so the crust and thus plate tectonics is 3 billion years old, right? No. See, the issue is that we only know the age of the oldest rocks. Rocks erode, dissolve, and otherwise perish, so when some scientists went to study a plate of old rock and found suddenly that plate tectonics was about 400 million years older than we thought, with that iron trick, it caused some problems, because we don't really know when all of this started. Logically, we know that it started because we're not standing in lava right now. There is rocks. I mean, the lava comes in 2024. That's when the Ohio final bosses leak into the real world, and we have to all gang up to beat the dungeon or we perish, so start grinding those levels now. But anyways, the oldest rocks are all most likely gone, so we will not really know the actual truth of when the rocks started being rocks, which means that the beginning of plate tectonics remains shrouded in mystery. Speaking of mystery, I could give you the overdone true crime intro. You know, the one where I talk about how fun vacations are until the not fun part happened to this poor bastard. Or I could use my writing ability for bad reasons, like telling whoever it was that started that trend in true crime writing to gargle my ballsack. The people who use it, though, y'all are okay. I mean, following trends it's not inherently evil. Anyways, let's talk about Rebecca Coriam. At this point in script writing, I only know the name and that it's a disappearance, but I'm calling it now. She's British, isn't she? Yep, she is. British people of the world, be warned. You cannot hide from me. Rebecca Coriam was born in 1987. She lived a pretty decent life from most accounts. When she was young, she did what everyone does, went to school. She then went on to go to college and join the military. But she got a job with Disney Cruise Lines after the military stint had ended in 2010. This was a nail in her coffin. On March 21st, 2011, Corium sent a message to her parents. This digital message in a bottle would be her last known words. On March 21st of 2011, the Wonder, the boat she worked on, left LA. Corium's shift started March 22nd, 2011 at 9 a.m. Of course, Corium's shift would go on to start without Rebecca. Once it was realized that Rebecca wasn't turning up, the search was started. She wasn't in her room, and she wasn't on the boat. It's almost like she was a missing person. So where exactly did Corium go? Originally, there were unfounded claims that she had gone overboard sometime around 3 a.m., which was quickly disproven. There was a CCTV appearance confirmed to be heard around 5:45 a.m., showing her in the internal phones portion of a crew area. She appears distraught, and a young man approaches to ask if she's alright. She responds with what is best estimated as, "Yeah, fine," before hanging up the phone, putting her hair up, her hands into her back pockets, and walking away. The security camera footage proved to be a bust, though, with Corium remaining unfound. The U.S. Coast Guard and the Mexican Navy patrolled the waters that the Wonder had sailed, finding no sign of her. When the Wonder returned to LA 3 days later, a detective from the Bahamas was flown out. You might be wondering why that guy is here, or why it's even relevant that a detective from the Bahamas was flown to LA. So now's your reminder that corporations are evil and most cruise liners are registered in Caribbean countries to avoid paying taxes and other very unsavory things. Remember, kids, tax evasion is only cool when the working class does it. The detective, despite spending several days there, didn't find anything, nor did British detectives. All of her possessions were still there, and there was no signs of foul play. Everything was normal except the fact that Rebecca did what 25% of fathers in the United States do. Vanished. So what the hell happened here? Investigators concluded that she went overboard sometime after her last sighting on camera. Occam's razor, my beloved, is at play once more. If woman on boat, boat on sea, and woman no longer on boat, where could she be? Pretty simple. Her never being found maybe has less to do with mystery and more to do with the size of the fucking ocean. But this is one of my videos we're talking about here, so let's discuss the love triangle suicide theory. Yes, you heard those words. As much sense as the overboard theory makes, things still don't add up. The fact that on a cruise ship where there should be decent security camera networks in place, Corium is just lost is extremely suspicious. The House of Mouse claimed that Corium could have been swept overboard by a rogue wave, but a wave that large to reach the deck and sweep someone away would have been felt by everyone on board. Investigators also claimed to have found Rebecca's flip-flops at the pool, a support of the rogue wave overboard theory, except these flip-flops aren't Corium's as proven by private investigators. We have a logically sound theory here. Rebecca fell off the boat, and if the official investigators had held their cards by not coming up with questionable at best evidence, this unsolved mystery would have a very widely accepted theoretical solution. But with too many glaring holes in the official chains of events, it isn't illogical to posit that maybe something else happened. So how the hell do we get from this baseline to love triangle self-removed from Minecraft server? Rebecca was known to be in a relationship that was rocky and stressful. This was likely why she was on the phone. Unless she was on the phone with supposedly a mutual friend of her partner. It's not known and has led to speculation that she was in a love triangle. This kind of stress can drive someone to take their own life, but I'll be frank with you, this theory is tabloid bullshit, and I only brought it up to laugh at it. There is, of course, genuine remaining speculation, the idea that Corium was a victim of violent crime. Of course, there's a massive problem with these theories. The feds. Repeated requests for information have been denied, and there's little hope that those circumstances will change. With no available proof, as likely as the victim of crime theory may be, there are no leads to discuss. There have also been claims that Corium has been sighted elsewhere. This theory is that Rebecca ran away and started a new life, but there's no reasonable way she could have slipped off the boat, and with all of her possessions still in her quarters, she would have nothing but the clothes on her back when she did so, which means that it is extremely not likely. For 11 years, 7 months, and at the time of writing this script, 19 days, Rebecca Corium has been missing. I wouldn't be a realist if I hoped she was still out there and okay. I'd be a human being, and in spite of all my jokes and lighthearted approach, I hope her family is doing well, and that maybe one day Rebecca can return home. When I tell you these players were removed from the game in Delphi, you might assume Delphi, Central Greece, the place with the oracle who you heard of in Percy Jackson. My target audience gets this reference because I know what you are. But instead, I'm talking about Delphi, Indiana, and buying myself time in the video until I can say what actually happened here without losing out on my paycheck. YouTube, I'm begging YouTube, I need to eat. Today's video is about the Delphi Slayings. At 1:35 p.m. on February 13th, 2017, 13-year-old Abigail Joyce Williams and 14-year-old Liberty Rose Lynn German, known as Abby and Libby, were dropped off by German's older sister, Kelsey. Kelsey German dropped the two off on County Road 300 North, which, despite my best efforts and considerable Google Maps skill, currently evades me. Why is there so many of this place in Indiana? The girls were going for a hike on the Monon Bridge over Deer Creek. At 2:07 p.m., Libby would post a picture of Abby on the bridge. This was the last ever heard from them. At 3:15 p.m., the pair failed to meet Libby's father. At 5:30, after a failed personal search, the two were reported missing to the police. The police never released details about their deaths, or when they died. But they were able to recover Libby's phone, where she had managed to take pictures and record audio of the man who very likely murdered them. Composite sketches were released of the suspect, and a bounty of $41,000 was put out for information leading to an arrest. And then for 2 years, silence. In 2019, the police vaguely announced the case was going in a new direction. Longtime viewers of my channel will know that I am by no means a stranger to true crime. There's literally over 24 hours of straight true crime content on my channel, but the crimes I'm used to discussing are old. The wounds have healed and scars left behind. There's dust on the files. I'm a torchbearer in an abandoned library, briefly shining light on what once was lost. All of the niche spree killings I've covered, the killers who roam highways, murders from the late 1800s, they're all gone and forgotten, dead until I briefly resurrect them, make a few jokes, and toss them back into their graves unceremoniously. The Delphi murders are not like anything I've ever discussed, because their memory is still alive and the case is still ongoing. On October 26, 2022, 50-year-old Richard Matthew Allen was arrested on 2 counts of homicide. He was at the site of the homicide at the same time, which is suspect, and the video Libby took features a man in jeans and a jacket with the hood up. He points a gun at them and tells them that they need to go down the hill before the video ends. At 4 p.m., a bloody and muddy man in this outfit is caught on camera leaving the area. According to Allen's wife, Allen owned a similar outfit. In a break from my traditional format with these videos, I won't be discussing any theories. I'm a guy on the internet, and this is a complex and still developing situation. The police being tight-lipped about this isn't as bad a thing as people may think, because speculation and bias can and has ruined countless investigations beforehand. I actually genuinely appreciate that the police department here is staying quiet. They need to, so that an attempt at justice can be carried out. I don't know if Allen did it, and I do not have sufficient research material to formulate an opinion, so in the sake of good intellectual conduct, I'm not going to. What I can say is that I hope Allen gets a fair trial, and I hope that the truth is unveiled. And what I will say is that no life should end so young. This year, Abby and Libby would have been 19 and 18, the same age as me. They had their own hopes and dreams, and the loss of human life so recently is something that shouldn't be made light of. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised by our justice system for once. I doubt I will be, but hey, a man can dream. And I hope everyone involved finds peace.
Okay, so you've been enjoying this video so far, I presume. Yes? Yes, of course you have. That's why you're still here. We're majority of the way through, and you're still watching. Normally I wait till the end to do this, but I am going to have a little commercial break now, brought to you by our sponsors, which is me and the patrons. Do you like these videos? Does the idea of me having more time alone in a bedroom to brood and mourn what never was and what never can be, while also creating stuff, sound fun to you? Of course it does. So if you subscribe right now, I will be able to do that. It's completely free. It helps me pursue my dreams. You can always undo it if you hate my guts later. And to those of you who are already subscribed, the Patreon is always on the table. So with the Patreon, the link's always in the description down below. I have a dollar tier, I have $3 tiers, I have $9 tiers. It's pretty simple stuff. I don't really like locking content behind paywalls, but I also need to eat, you know? Uh, so basically, with the Patreon, you get to vote on what videos I make, not in the sense that like I let you decide everything, but in the sense that half of my uploads tend to be mystery iceberg single videos. And I have a little poll on the Patreon for every single one of those to determine what the next one is. So if you join the Patreon, you will be able to get that. Right now, the Patreon is the only place to get another pen merch. That'll change sometime this year, but if you want to be one of the first, you can go ahead and do that. Now, of course, I've interrupted you for long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and get back into the video. Thanks again for watching. Let's go ahead and finish this off.
Black holes are peak real-life cosmic terror, a hyper-dense point that is also the carcass of a large star that literally breaks reality and exists purely to consume all that comes close as a concept so whack that not even a room full of George Lucas, Stephen King, and 3 pounds of cocaine could produce it. The point isn't to talk about black holes themselves, though, not in this video, but rather to ask what the hell is going on inside of them. I mentioned enough of what a black hole is just a moment ago, but if you don't know what one is, congratulations on recently turning 12. I'm going to briefly explain what creates a black hole. Large stars obviously have large gravity, so when they die, the fusion making the star go out stops, and the gravity trying to pull the star in keeps pulling. The star then explodes, and the remaining material is pulled into an infinitely small and dense point. Simple enough, except for the part where it warps space-time. Space-time is like a cloth. When we put a heavy object on it, space-time warps, meaning gravity affects the flow of time. A good example of this is that technically astronauts experience time faster and truer than us on the planet, but a black hole being infinitely dense really fucks with space-time, and time essentially in theory stops within the realm of a black hole, which is described as beyond the event horizon. The singularity is theorized to be an infinitely dense point, but there's just one problem with this. Infinity breaks the math of the universe, so it shouldn't. It could look more like a ring, but that would also break the math of the universe. The singularity could be anything past the event horizon, which is where it's so powerful that not even light can escape it. Light being unable to escape doesn't, break the math of reality. So, whatever's going on in there, we don't really know, and how exactly are we supposed to take any valid guesses when this is something so fucky it literally shouldn't coexist with the laws of the universe? I'll tell you how. The unbridled audacity of a bisexual man. One of the most popular theories, not because it's realistic, but because it's cool, is that the singularity of a black hole is a wormhole that leads to a white hole, a theoretical stellar object that perpetually pukes out all the yummy and destroyed matter its black hole partner eats. This is a really cool idea, but it's just that. To save you a mind-numbing math lecture, let's just say that while this isn't impossible, and not just because of the law of infinite probability, it's really not likely, and if white holes did exist, they would have extremely recognizable signatures that we definitely would have seen by now, so the circumstances of this universe likely do not allow for a white hole's existence. Next up, we already talked about it, is the infinitely dense point theory. It makes sense. What powers a thing so strong it eats the fastest thing in the universe? Infinity is clearly superior to the speed of light. The issue is you can't do math with infinity, and math is the language the laws of the universe are written in. If the math doesn't work, you are wrong. Throwing doubt on this, though, is that a black hole is an eldritch entity so strong it overpowers the cosmic constant, so it probably just does not care about the laws of this bitch-ass universe. I will put on a tinfoil condom, though, to point out that a singularity in its most widespread interpretation is a point of infinite gravity compressing matter to a minuscule point. Now, if you've read up on the very basics of space lore, you know that the Big Bang consisted of a point of matter infinitely condensed, according to the theory. And where would we get a point of infinitely condensed matter? Well, a spot in the space-time continuum where infinity is allowed to just break shit. It's a great place to start on getting an infinitely condensed point. I am with no credits in the field and no math in the slightest to prove or even hint to it, saying that a black hole, for its gravitational properties, might be capable of condensing matter to the hypercritical point the universe was in pre-Big Bang. What will you do with this information? I don't know. but it's possible that they're bombs.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bomb.
And I think that's pretty funny that we just have the potential for a new universe to be made just kind of chilling in a black hole. Or maybe a black hole is just a gateway to another universe. I don't know. The theories on this are massive and widespread, except for where they're really not. The issue is that it's so mind-breaking that we can barely wrap our minds around it right now. We just simply don't understand. And we're doing a lot to understand better scientifically wise. The issue is, again, just how wacky the concept is. Like, these things should not just coexist in reality with us, but here they are. Just a fucking cosmic Kirby out there, and I mean that in the most eldritch, horrifying way ever. So, much to the dismay of 8-year-old Another Pen, I'm an internet funny man and not a theoretical astrophysicist. I've gone over the most basic theories and even thrown in one of my own, but I don't have the credentials or the math capability to learn the more conceptual and not well-known theories. Most people on YouTube do not, so unless we can get like Michio Kaku himself just down here to explain something beyond all of our comprehension for that, I think that this is the video.
We did it. We made it to the end of the video, baby. Call me a transgender woman the way I be growing racks. Now, if you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe. Obviously, I had my whole little 2 minutes where I just told you to do that. So if the next few minutes wasn't enough to convince you, I'm puking, I'm crying, I can't forgive you. I'm gonna burn tires in your front yard. It's just not gonna end well. But I do hope you genuinely enjoyed it. I am very grateful that you made it all the way to the end of this video with me. Really does mean the world that I can do this and like talk to a camera to that and get paid for it. It's incredible. I love it every day, and I'm so grateful for it. And I hope to do it more, which you can help with just by liking the video, commenting, watching it, which you already did, or just subscribing, sharing it, anything really. Also, huge thanks to the patrons. Couldn't do it without them. Happy New Year, everyone! It's January 1st, 2023. When I tell you this year is going to go absolutely batshit insane, I mean it. I am brewing, I'm cooking. Something malicious is in the works, and it's going to be fantastic, and I'm genuinely really excited to do it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Until next time, have a great time. Memento mori.